Stardew Valley has 49 achievements. Some are simple, like earning 15,000 gold or catching 10 different fish. Others are much harder, like achieving perfection or beating Journey of the Prairie King without dying. But what if I had to complete every single achievement in order? That would mean if an achievement came later in the list, I had to avoid completing it entirely, until every achievement before it was finished first. And that comes with its very own problems. The achievement list in no way matches the progression of the player, with some simpler achievements being locked all the way until past Ginger Island. In total, there are 39 in-game achievements that count towards an in-game counter and will appear with a gold star once collected, with 10 more achievements only available on Steam and don't appear in the menu. We will still be doing those achievements as well, and can complete them at any time we wanted since they don't have a typical order, but will still count towards our total at the end. There is only one achievement that is impossible to get on a single farm, and it's one of the Steam achievements, being either the local legend or JojaCo Member of the Year, as you get one of them for restoring the community centre and the other for purchasing all of the Joja community development projects, and we can obviously only do one of those, which will be the local legend. So with 39 achievements to get in order and 9 bonus ones to collect, with a completely fresh farm, I attempted to get them all in order. Whilst we clear out some debris and plant our parsnips, I will mention some of the problems we'll have in the short term. Our first achievement to get in order is Greenhorn for earning 15,000 gold. Pretty simple. The main issue isn't the achievements themselves, it's trying to complete them in order, whilst trying not to complete any others before it. I won't run through all of the troublesome ones right now, but immediately we have an achievement that will cause us some problems. The DIY achievement is the 18th in order and is unlocked after making 15 different crafting recipes. That meant we could only make 14 different crafting recipes until we had completed the whole 17 achievements that come before it. So after making a chest to store all of my day 1 items in, we can only make 13 more. We do have to be extremely careful to not accidentally softlock ourselves in this challenge. Inside a trash can in town, I'd found myself a largemouth bass, which leads me onto another troublesome set of achievements, Fisherman and Mother Catch. These achievements come even further past DIY and introduce probably the biggest roadblock in the entire challenge. The Fisherman achievement is granted after catching 10 different types of fish, meaning already we could only get 9 different species of fish, because of course catching the 10th different fish will get us the achievement, and we had the entire fish tank bundle to finish. The Mother Catch achievement is granted after catching 100 fish in total, meaning we could only ever catch 99 fish in total until we reached it. Of course, giving me yet another challenge where I had to level up my fishing skill without fishing. Great, exactly what I wanted. So you can see why getting a largemouth bass here is very useful. I collected some horseradishes and spring onions before swinging around to Pierre's to buy one of each spring crop seed. Thankfully, there aren't any achievements that stop us from growing anything, so we can still play this part of the game normally. Overnight, I did reach level 1 foraging, unlocking 2 new crafting recipes, although apart from the wild seeds, I'm going to have to ignore them for now because of that DIY achievement. Willie had sent me a letter inviting me to the beach to pick up my fishing rod. Fishing will still be fine as long as we're keeping track of every fish we've caught and how many we've got. At the mountain lake, I chose to get my first few fish, the largemouth bass, bullhead, carp and chub, alongside green algae and river jelly, which both annoyingly count as a fish. Since the Fisherman achievement unlocks after catching 10 different fish, that already meant 6 out of our 9 allowed fish were gone, leaving me with only 3 different species left to catch for the entire rest of the challenge. The reason I did this, however, is so throughout the spring season I can fish in the mountain lake without much problem, as long as I didn't catch over 100 fish for the Mother Catch achievement. That does mean I'll be relying on the travelling cart to complete the fish tank bundle, since I could only catch 3 different fish now. Our luck wasn't all bad, however, as inside a fishing chest I found myself an ancient seed. That is actually much more important than it seems. Why? I'll get onto that later. After passing out at 2 AM, I had hit level 2 fishing. Working towards the Greenhorn achievement, I shipped off all of my catches from yesterday and chopped a bunch of trees on the farm to level up my foraging skill. That gave me enough wood to repair the bridge on the beach. With the inevitable thought of leveling up my fishing skill without catching over 100 fish, access to the tide pools area can give me seaweed that I can use to make fish ponds to level me up later. I donated the ancient seed to gain the ancient seed crafting recipe and an ancient seed packet. Due to our limitations with crafting, however, we aren't going to use that, but the packet still works fine. The remainder of the day is spent back up at the mountain lake, reaching level 4 fishing, but I'm getting very scared right now about how close I might be to the mother catch achievement, since, well, I forgot to keep count. Well done, Tom. Well done. After watering all my crops, I shipped off yet another bunch of fish. Instead of going back to fishing once again, I chose to do some foraging since I wasn't going to risk the mother catch achievement. A fresh batch of parsnips was enough to level me up in farming, and I also chose to plant the ancient seed too. Our first trip to the travelling cart didn't give me anything useful, but we will be checking it every Sunday and every Friday. After Mayor Lewis showed me around the abandoned community centre, I could begin making progress inside the mines. There aren't any in-game achievements that stop me from reaching all the way to floor 120, so getting all the way to the bottom is going to be my focus this season. Inside a crate, we could upgrade to a wooden club and make it to floor 20 before the end of the day, to which we unlocked a lot more crafting recipes, including the furnace recipe from the new 1.7 bachelor, Clint. We did use up 2 more crafting recipes today, being the scarecrow, needed to protect our crops from any pesky crows, and also the furnace recipe to smelt ores. I wasted no time into heading to the wizard's tower today to learn the language of the Junimos, and complete the spring foraging bundle that gave us access to even more bundles. Over at the museum, I donated a few new minerals, and whilst we're here, there is a few achievements relating to donating items that we will need to be careful about, but they aren't too much trouble. With the main one being the treasure trove achievement, which unlocks after donating 40 different items. On the farm, I planted the 30 wild seeds I received from the community centre and sent my pickaxe for its first upgrade to copper before donating some fish to the fish tank bundle. Sunday's travelling cart didn't have anything too useful, so I handed Caroline a daffodil to try and level her up in friendship. Since fishing was off the cards for making early gold, I thought the next best thing was the good old tea saplings, which requires making it to 2 hearts with Caroline. By the next week, my pickaxe had finished upgrading, allowing me to continue my progress inside the mines, making it all the way down to floor 50 by the 10th. Besides donating more items to the community centre and handing Caroline even more gifts, the season was passing by very quickly. A quick stop later to the Cindersap forest to collect and return Robin her lost axe was the only thing slowing our progress inside the mines, eventually making it to floor 60. Friday's travelling cart didn't sell much of use, although in hindsight it would have been nice to buy that quality sprinkler. By the time the egg festival had rolled around, the wild seeds I had planted had fully grown, alongside some carrots and cauliflowers. My plan was to pre-water exactly 23 spots on the farm, so once I attended the egg festival, I could buy myself some strawberry seeds to plant later. Although for now, I had an egg hunt to win, which of course we won with flying colours. Before the day was over, I made sure to plant all of the strawberries. I gave Hayley a daffodil for her birthday, upping her to 2 hearts. I will have to be careful though, since a new friend achievement unlocks after I reach 5 hearts with someone. To make tea saplings, we're going to need to make wild seeds that I can plant on the farm, but that also does take away 1 more crafting recipe from our 14 allowed. At the community centre, I completed the spring crops bundle, receiving some speed grow, and unlocked the boiler room bundle that I could now start working on. I completed the adventurers bundle, and donated a frozen tear and earth crystal to the geologist bundle. By the 15th, I was down to the lava levels, and collected the obsidian edge on floor 90. Before bed that night, I smelted some gold bars for the boiler room, and picked the miner perk after reaching level 5 mining. And with said gold bars, I could nearly complete the boiler room, leaving only the fire quartz to find. In the meantime, I completed the crab pot bundle, and in the mines I found myself the monster compendium, and collected my very first star drop on floor 100, filling my mind with the thoughts of achievements. There is not an in-game achievement relating to the star drops, but there is a Steam achievement, Mystery of the Star Drops, requiring we find every single one. Not much long later, I found a fire quartz, officially completing our first room inside the community centre, the boiler room, which would give us access to the minecarts. I used up 1 more crafting recipe today, the tappers, to place on some trees, before I headed over to Clint to upgrade my axe to copper. In the Cindersap forest, whilst I was foraging for some salmon berries, I came across a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to get myself a new leprechaun hat to wear. Looking good. After handing Pam a birthday gift, it put her onto 3 hearts, and once again we're going to have to be careful to not let anyone reach 5 hearts just yet for the new friend achievement. But this far into the video, and it was about time we got ourselves the first achievement of the video, and it actually wasn't one of the in-game ones, but instead a Steam achievement, the bottom, for reaching the bottom of the normal mines. After giving Jodie a cauliflower, Picking up my new copper axe and purchasing the first backpack upgrade, I collected some hardwood in order to complete the construction bundle, whilst also reaching level 5 foraging overnight. Spring 21, we had our first harvest of strawberries alongside a bunch of spring forage too. After selling them at Pierre's, I could afford to buy a sturgeon and a red snapper from the travelling cart, which were both great pickups considering the limit on the different fish I could catch. Not only that, but I had finally made it to 2 hearts with Caroline to access her tea room, meaning tea saplings are on the way very soon. In the meantime, I could donate the sturgeon completing the lake fish bundle and the red snapper to the ocean fish bundle. The very next day, we had the recipe to make tea saplings and I made a bunch of them. Unfortunately, this would again be another crafting recipe we've used up, but made us over 8,000 gold, giving us our second achievement, but the first one in order, Greenhorn, for earning 15,000 gold. The next achievement in order was Cowpoke, requiring we earn 50,000 gold in earnings. Okay, it's not too bad. Was hoping for something a little easier, but let's keep on going. That took me to Robin's to build myself a coop, Clint's to upgrade my axe to steel, and also to let Demetrius fill our farm cave with bats. By the time the flower dance had arrived, I had to stand on the sidelines once the whole town had a blast. Not me of course, I had achievements to get. I collected my new steel axe and sent off my pickaxe for an upgrade to steel, and squeezed in level 4 farming and level 6 foraging before the end of the season. The community centre was coming along quite nicely, wrapping up the exotic foraging bundle with some maple syrup today, as well as picking up our new pickaxe and handing Emily a birthday gift. Over at the travelling cart, I bought myself a bream and headed to the mines to farm some copper. This was so I could create a ton of furnaces for an ambitious plan I had to make a ton of gold later. And the plan was simple, just keep farming gold ore, turning them into gold bars, and then after a few days, I should have enough gold to afford the vault bundle, with our first day making us 6,000 gold. With the summer here, we are of course still working towards our second achievement in order, the Cowpoke, after earning 50,000 gold in total. And I made sure to buy one of each summer seed alongside a bunch of melons. I know it will be a lot of watering for me to do, but I'm purposefully not making any sprinklers at the moment as I didn't want to craft anything that wasn't necessary due to the DIY achievement. With the rest of the day being inside the mines, smelting more gold and iron bars, hitting level 8 mining overnight. More of the same on the second, hitting level 9 mining too. You'd be shocked to hear that I'm yet again farming more gold on the third and fourth, and finally shipping it all at night with 146 gold bars, bunch of gems, alongside some more tea saplings too. Unsurprisingly, overnight I hear the chime of a new achievement unlocked after making 49,000 gold. With the Cowpoke achievement now unlocked, we could check out the next one in order. Homesteader is up next to make 250,000 gold. Which wasn't exactly what I wanted to see, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue since we should have access to iridium ore very soon. At the cart, I bought myself a tilapia alongside a few other items I could donate at the community centre. Not just that, but I had way more than enough gold today to completely finish the vault bundle, making it 2 rooms down. In order to prepare for the desert, I farmed some iron ore and coal on the frozen levels of the mines to make bombs, and also picked up the final backpack upgrade. With the bus being repaired overnight meant only one thing, we could finally access the Skull Caverns. Before I rushed off to the desert, I did have my first ancient fruit ready to collect, and once I get my hands on a seed maker, I'll be able to make fields of them. I did make yet another new crafting recipe today, the regular bombs. And sure, 15 crafting recipes is a lot to get the DIY achievement, but as long as I remain careful, we won't accidentally softlock ourselves. And what I mean by softlock is, if I need a mayonnaise machine for something, but I can't craft it without getting the achievement, then that's a softlock. The first task in the desert was to meet Sandy and begin our very first dive into Skull Cavern. For our first time here, we're looking for as much iridium ore as possible and anything we can collect to sell for gold. Luckily, I did find myself a prismatic shard and made it to floor 100 where we received a dark cowboy hat. I made sure to leave somewhat early in order to trade for some desert warp totems and some spicy eels and triple shot espressos. Before bed, I added a diamond to the crystallarium I received from the vault bundle in order to get an infinite supply of diamonds. But in all, I ended the trip with 176 iridium ore, and quite honestly, that was perfect. I headed straight back to the Skull Cavern the next morning and exchanged my prismatic shard I found yesterday for the galaxy sword. On floor 71, I received some iridium bars from a treasure room, and once more made some great progress, getting so much iridium ore in total. Funnily enough, the treasure room on floor 100 once again gave me another dark cowboy hat. The main reason I wanted to collect so much iridium ore was of course to make lots of gold from selling the iridium bars. Not just for the homesteader achievement, but also to upgrade all of my tools, upgrade the barn and coops, and anything else I needed. Whilst I wasn't using it, I sent off my hoe for its first upgrade to copper, and continued into the night smelting my iridium ore, making 40,000 gold overnight. I'm also deciding to no longer donate any more items to the museum, since we don't want to accidentally get the treasure trove achievement by donating 40 items to the museum. Especially before we've donated all 4 dwarf scrolls. We will need the dwarf translation guide before getting that achievement, so until I've found all 4 of them, I won't be donating anything. In the meantime, I completed the summer foraging bundle and grabbed Way of the Wind Part 1 from the bookseller to make our movement speed much faster. With us close to making 40,000 gold again overnight, it was clear the iridium bar plan was working great. The 11th of summer is the Luau festival, and there actually is an achievement related to this festival, that of course we're going to have to avoid. An unforgettable soup achievement is unlocked by delighting the governor by putting a good item into the soup. This achievement is one of the last in the list, so we're going to have to place a simple spice berry into the soup, getting a very bang average reaction. On the 13th, we had our first batch of melons to harvest, and at this point, with our main moneymaker coming from iridium bars, I was more bothered about the farming experience than anything else, managing to climb up 2 more levels before planting even more melons in their place. At level 6 farming, we did unlock the recipe for the quality sprinklers, but I won't be making them. Instead, I'll be waiting until farming level 9 to make iridium quality sprinklers. The very next day bought the Green Rain event, making for a great opportunity to level up my foraging skill, and also to collect lots of fibres and moss for future recipes. I wrapped up the summer crops bundle inside the community centre to receive a free quality sprinkler, which is always handy. I made up another new crafting recipe, the lightning rods, since I felt they were yet another recipe I couldn't afford to be without right now. We're going to need battery packs for iridium sprinklers, and eventually we'll need 5 of them to repair the boat to Ginger Island. Overnight, I was visited by the crop fairy, allowing me to collect some melons early the next morning. Running low on iridium, I chose to head back to the Skull Caverns, although what I found was a lot more valuable than iridium. On a treasure floor, I received 2 iridium sprinklers, which will be super useful for farming, especially since we cannot make them yet. The travelling cart sold me a sunfish that I could drop off at the community centre, before watching Mr. Keith fly his plane overhead, allowing me to find mystery boxes. After reaching level 10 in our first skill, we do manage to get another Steam achievement, Singular Talent. For the end of the summer season, I slammed in 1 more big coop upgrade, harvested another batch of melons, and bought a flounder and quality sprinkler from the travelling cart. With nothing left to do before fall was here, I did 1 more Skull Caverns dive, hoping to make enough gold to unlock the Homesteader achievement very soon. And get the achievement soon I did. After selling some iridium bars at Clint's, I had earned 250 gold in total and unlocked the achievement. Things were really starting to come along now. Let's see what the next achievement is. Millionaire. Earn 1 million gold. Not ideal, but onwards and upwards I guess. At the final cart of the season, I bought some large milk, periwinkle for future cooking recipes, and a rare seed for the Secret Woods Star Drop. Of course, we cannot forget to watch the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies for the final event of the season. And going into fall, we are 3 achievements completed in order, with none of them out of order at the moment. Although, I have a very bad feeling it won't always be like that. To begin, I planted 1 of each fall seed, as well as a bunch of pumpkins. Using the sprinklers we got from the Skull Caverns, that should make our lives much easier. I did choose to plant a lot of corn, not just for the quality crops bundle, but also for as much farming experience as possible. More progress inside the community centre too, with the full foraging bundle being wrapped up, and also the introduction of the special orders board in town. We will need to do most of the special orders on here at some point for the various crafting recipes, but for now I chose crop order. Back at Skull Cavern, I found even more iridium sprinklers inside a treasure room, followed immediately by even more sprinklers. I also began the construction of a better storage area with even more chests, since we won't be able to make any big chest recipes just yet. Back in the desert, I chose to catch myself the sandfish and dropped it off inside the specialty fish bundle. Throughout the challenge, I was using the Stardew Valley predictor, and I knew it wasn't going to appear at the travelling cart for a very long time, so I made the sandfish one of the fish I needed to catch. That also meant it was another fish species that counts towards the fisherman achievement, so I would have to be very careful on any more I try and get. At the cart, I bought myself a nautilus shell, sturgeon and a bunch of carp, allowing me to complete the field research bundle and also the lake fishing bundle too. And to be honest, we are slowly making progress to the fish tank, despite our limitations with the number of fish we can catch. Only a few days later, I wrapped up the animal bundle after donating some wool, giving me a cheese press, which is actually huge, as this would save me using a crafting recipe up to make one, of course avoiding the DIY achievement. At the cart once more, I bought a halibut and completed the artisan bundle after making some goat's cheese using our new cheese press. As a reward, I received a keg, although considering we need to make 1 million gold for the millionaire achievement, and potentially even more depending on what comes next, I would certainly be making kegs another one of my crafting recipes out of the 14 I'm allowed. Finally, I did reach level 9 farming, unlocking the recipe for the seed maker that we'll need to turn our ancient fruits into seeds, and also the iridium sprinklers too. On the 15th, I bought yet another sprinkler from the travelling cart and completed the full crops bundle, giving me a bee house. And then the quality crops bundle too, meaning we had completed yet another room inside the community centre and giving us access to the greenhouse, which was going to be huge once I began filling it with ancient fruits. If I've kept track correctly, right now I have made 8 different crafting recipes: the furnace, chest, wild seeds, tea sapling, tapper, bombs, lightning rods, and staircases. So I only had 6 more different ones to make without getting the DIY achievement too early. And today, I chose to make the cookout kit for a variety of reasons. For one, I would need to make a fried egg and maki roll for the chef's bundle. And 2, if we take a quick look at the achievements, we will somehow have to cook 10 recipes, then 25 recipes, and then every single recipe before upgrading the house. Since upgrading the house and getting the kitchen comes after all of the cooking related ones, meaning we would have no other choice but to make the cookout kit anyway. And so after making one up, I was able to wrap up the chef's bundle quite easily, but more importantly, the Junimos were able to fix up the greenhouse overnight, meaning we could begin turning it into our very own ancient fruit farm. Of course, the Stardew Valley Fair is here, and once again, similar to the Luau Festival, there is an achievement linked to this festival. The Blue Ribbon achievement is given after receiving first prize at the fair, and once again is one of the final achievements in the list. So we had to make sure we only got second place in order to not get it, and thankfully our very mediocre display did get us second place. It took a lot longer, but after enough spins of the wheel, I had enough star tokens to get yet another star drop, the prize ticket, and the rare crow too. Every time I was running low on gold, I would head back to the Skull Caverns to get at least 300 pieces of iridium ore that I could take and smelt back home. I did have to spend a lot of gold buying some coal today since we were burning through so much. Luckily on the 19th, during another trip to the Skull Caverns, I received a rabbit's foot from a serpent and a fresh new hat to wear. After receiving enough apples from the Fruitbat Cave, I wrapped up the fodder bundle, the enchanter's bundle, and chose to use up one more crafting recipe for the iridium sprinkler. This was so I could head to Sandy's, buy a load of starfruit seeds, and begin filling the greenhouse with them. Of course, we're working towards the millionaire achievement, and this is the best way to get it. I then made up the keg recipe too, for when the starfruits finished, I could turn them into starfruit wine. That then left 4 different crafting recipes I had to make, and to not risk it, I decided not to make the seed maker right now. Over at the special orders board, I chose prismatic jelly, and surprisingly, it didn't take me that long at all, finding the prismatic slime, slaying it, and returning the jelly to the wizard. And before long, I began the first plant of many of starfruits inside the greenhouse. Whilst I was at it, I made up a load more tappers to place on some more oak trees, to get more oak resin, that we'll be needing a lot of for our keg empire very soon. Over at the secret woods, I could exchange a sweet gemberry for yet another star drop, and a day later I could buy a tuna, wood skip, and red cabbage seed from the travelling cart that I could donate to the community centre. But more importantly, I reached level 10 farming, allowing any artisan products to be sold for 40% more, which is what we need when we start making some starfruit wine. Before the season ended, I received a letter from Marnie letting me know she is selling auto-grabbers for 25,000 gold, so I'll make sure to buy a few of them at some point. And for the final cart of the season, I bought myself a shad that I donated, and then 2 auto-grabbers from Marnie. And just like that, we're here in the winter season already. Of course, we are slowly working towards the millionaire achievement, and the first order of business was to chase Krobus into the bushes in order to get the magnifying glass from him. After tilling some ground on the beach, I received the winter route that I needed to complete the winter foraging bundle, and more importantly, the crafts room giving us access to the quarry. To clear out the quarry, I used some mega bombs I traded for at the desert trader, which is very satisfying to do. Since there were a few oak trees here, I did place some tappers on them too, and headed into the quarry cave to collect my golden scythe. Since I was going to need a lot of oak resin for kegs, I decided to take all of my acorns to the quarry to plant them all, and used up the remaining oak resin I had to make even more kegs. As of the 3rd of winter, we are just over halfway in earnings to the next achievement, and once our starfruit had finished growing, it shouldn't take us much longer to get the millionaire achievement. After my red cabbage seed had grown, it was the last item I needed to complete the dye bundle, officially completing another room inside the community centre, the bulletin board. That left the hardest one, the fish tank, until we had fully completed the community centre. As a reward, I got a seed maker. That will save me having to craft one myself. Of course, with the seed maker now in hand, we could begin turning all the ancient fruit I had saved into ancient seeds to start our very own ancient fruit farm inside the greenhouse. Things were moving pretty smoothly up until this point, but on the 8th of winter, we had a big issue. You see, the reward for completing the bulletin board bundle is an extra heart of friendship with everyone in town, and you get that the morning after completing the bulletin board in the mail. In my case, after opening the mail, it gave me a new friend achievement. That achievement is unlocked after reaching a 5 heart friend level with someone, and after checking the friendship tab, it was right. The extra heart of friendship I get for completing the bulletin board bundle was enough to have both Pam and Caroline to 5 hearts. This may seem like a huge problem, although it isn't entirely unsolvable. Luckily, these bonus hearts are only given after you read the mail, so after resetting the day, we would be unable to read any further mail until our friendship with both of them has decreased enough. Let's just hope we miss nothing important inside the mail for now. After avoiding donating any more artifacts or minerals to the museum for a very long time, I was able to donate the final dwarf scroll and collect the dwarf translation guide. Now I had it, I could head over to the dwarf in the mines to buy the dwarfish safety manual, making bombs deal 25% less damage to myself. Once more, I found myself back at Skull Cavern, collecting as much iridium as my pockets could handle. What's even better than iridium ore? A lucky ring, that's for sure, which is a huge find. With the trip ending back at the desert, trading 3 prismatic shards for a magic rock candy and a bunch more mega bombs. Then I was to Sandy's to buy some deluxe speed grow to make my ancient fruits in the greenhouse grow much quicker. And by the halfway stage of the season, my first batch of starfruit wine were ready, making sure to replenish the kegs with even more starfruit. By the 18th, we had lost enough friendship points with Pam and Caroline to finally open our mail, so that didn't cause us much of an issue. At the travelling cart, I bought some mayonnaise for any future cooking recipes, and another new fish for the community centre, the tiger trout. I did choose to commission a shed to be built to store all of my kegs, and by the 24th I began filling it with kegs, and chose to make an insane amount of iridium sprinklers to grow over 600 crops next season. Since the price of wood increases in year 2, I made sure to buy a load from Robbins, since we'll be needing a load for kegs and other things later. And just like that, we had made it to our 2nd year on Achievements Farm. Ultimately though, we are only 3 achievements down, but the community centre is almost completed, so all in all, I'm happy with our progress so far. Most of Spring 1 was spent planting over 500 cauliflowers and making sure they were all watered before the end of the day. I told you I wasn't playing around this year. In the greenhouse, we had another harvest of ancient fruits that I then took the time to slowly turn into more ancient seeds. But more importantly, after shipping another batch of starfruit wine, I heard the lovely noise of a new achievement unlocking, and the next morning it was true. We had earned 1 million gold and got ourselves the millionaire achievement. So it was time to cast our eyes to the next achievement in order. In game it's a secret achievement, so it's blanked out, but it's actually... Yep, that's right. The next achievement we had to get in order was the legend, after earning 10 million gold. Well, let's get on with it then, I guess. Our plan to get there before unlocking any other achievements is pretty much the same as what we've been doing. Continue to grow ancient fruit and star fruit, turn them into wine, and then sell them over and over until we get there. I would love to use the Ginger Island farm to grow more ancient fruit and star fruit, but reaching Ginger Island unlocks its own achievement, meaning we can only use the resources and space we have on our own farm. Using the predictor, 2 fish that I needed for the community centre that don't appear anywhere for a very long time are the sardine and eel, so I headed down to the beach to catch them both. If I have been keeping track correctly, the eel marks the 9th different fish I've caught, meaning I can no longer get any different species of fish than the ones I've already gotten without getting the fisherman achievement early. That then allowed me to complete the ocean fish bundle, leaving only a few fish until we had completed the community centre. One of those missing fish we got our hands on at the travelling cart on the 7th, the walleye, allowing me to wrap up the night fishing bundle, leaving the catfish for the river bundle and the pufferfish for the specialty fish bundle. By the halfway stage of the spring season, this was how our ancient fruit farm inside the greenhouse was doing, getting us very close to fully filling it. My cauliflowers were also ready today, with a bunch of giant ones that had grown too. It of course took a very long time to collect them all, and then I eventually shipped them all off. But then I ran into yet another huge problem. After shipping them, overnight I heard the sound of an achievement being unlocked that I knew wasn't good news, as I wasn't expecting any. And it wasn't. After waking up, I received the monoculture achievement for shipping 300 of one type of crop. That meant we would have to use the backup save to head back to day 13 once more to make sure I don't ship off 300 of the cauliflowers. Thank goodness for backups. That meant this time, we're back on spring 13 once again, and I chose to keep the cauliflowers fully grown on the farm for now, and would instead harvest them to turn into cauliflower juice instead. On a better note, the travelling cart sold a bunch of pufferfish, allowing me to complete the specialty fish bundle, leaving only the catfish to go. Since it was the desert festival tomorrow, I headed to the Adventurers Guild to buy some explosive ammo, and wasted no time the next morning to head straight over there. Before diving into the Skull Cavern, I collected my rumpled fruit skin from the Desert Chef and grabbed a quest from Marlon. Like any other time in the Desert Festival, we are looking for an egg rating of at least 55 to get the bonus 500 calico eggs alongside a free magic rock candy. And over the course of the trip, I managed to find a bunch of cool treasures. And by the time I reached floor 100, I met with Mr. Key, who made me drink some horrible tasting iridium snake milk. In the end, we came away with an egg rating of 72, which certainly came as a surprise to Gil. Just look at his face. But most importantly, we received the magic rock candy and the extra 500 calico eggs. With not a lot of choice to spend my calico eggs on today, I bought a bunch of Woodcutter's Weekly books to help me reach level 10 foraging. The very next day I was back once more and had even more success. But I did run into a lot of bats on a single floor, and I mean a lot of bats. We ended day 2 of the festival with an egg rating of 57, getting the free magic rock candy once more, trading the calico eggs for a bunch of mega bombs and staircases. But finally, on day 19 of spring, the travelling cart sold me a catfish, which meant I could donate it to the community centre, fully completing it. Thankfully, there isn't an in-game achievement for doing this, but it is one of the Steam achievements we are still collecting, the local legend for restoring the Pelican Town Community Centre. With that done, I built yet another big shed and collected another large batch of starfruit wine. At the cart, I bought some truffle oil and sturgeon, before changing up the layout of the buildings of my farm. Strolling into town, I saw the entire community celebrating the restoration of the community centre, except for Morris of course, who had to be dealt with the old-fashioned way. Then I finally finished filling the greenhouse with ancient fruit. On the final day of the spring season, I harvested all of the cauliflowers, but this time I would save them for kegging rather than ship them, At the oasis, I bought an insane amount of starfruit, but probably the biggest starfruit plant I will ever do in the summer season. It certainly took a long time to get them all into the ground, but after this, it should hopefully take us very close to that 10 million gold mark. At the travelling cart, I bought more mayonnaise for cooking recipes, and that is quite important, since I didn't want to waste another crafting recipe on a mayonnaise machine. By the 14th, over 600 starfruits were ready to collect, which should keep us busy for the next few weeks at least. On the 15th, our greenhouse was fully filled with fresh ancient fruit plants, ready to keep our money supply going until the end of the video. Whilst I remembered, I donated a prismatic shard and 5 gold star quality ancient fruit to the missing bundle, as there is an in-game achievement requiring access to the movie theatre later. Before the summer was over, I managed to squeeze in one more starfruit harvest with the help of the deluxe speed grow, and could not forget to watch the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies for the second time. When fall had arrived, I chose to fill the fields with pumpkins to do exactly the same as what I did with the cauliflowers in spring. I bought myself a book of stars from the bookseller to try and help our fishing level. Before our second winter had arrived, we were up to a total of 7.9 million gold in total earnings, meaning we weren't that far away from the legend achievement. With the incredible number of pumpkins I'd collected, I placed them all into kegs since we had run out of starfruit by this point. And by the end of winter, I could buy one more bait and bobber book from the bookseller after spending the entire season kegging. And quite perfectly, on the final day of winter, overnight, I heard the wonderful sound of a new achievement unlocking, and checking it out, I was right. The legend achievement was ours. It only took us 3 years to get it. Of course, now it was time to work on the next achievement, and if you thought things were about to get easier, you'd be wrong. Terribly wrong. In game it's blanked out, but once again it's a secret achievement, and it's the complete collection, which is unlocked after completing the museum collection. And this already caused an immediate problem. I took all of my artifacts I hadn't donated yet to the museum, and received the treasure trove achievement. Checking it out, the treasure trove achievement is unlocked after donating 40 items to the museum. But since our next achievement requires us complete the entire collection, this means the treasure trove achievement is the first one we are forced to collect out of order to continue the challenge. It's always so strange, you have all of the gold ones one after the other, and for some reason you have complete the museum collection coming before donating 40 items to the museum. Of course, this is super annoying, since I had just spent over 2 years with no issues, just to encounter this problem one achievement later. Using the predictor, I was able to get most of the minerals I needed to donate after working through all of my geodes I had saved up, leaving only the artifacts left. We could grab one of the strange dolls from a secret note here, and another one in the desert too, leaving us 6 artifacts left to find. One of the best ways to get artifacts is with the treasure totems, but that would require we reach level 10 in all of our skills and unlock the foraging mastery, which again wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't for fishing level 10. So in order to squeeze as much fishing experience in as I physically could, I headed to the lake to catch 26 more fish, meaning I could no longer get any more and should be on around 98-99 fish caught. I think. I wasn't really keeping track very well. However, little did I know, this little fishing session here would end up costing me later down the line. But for now though, the Desert Festival was back, and I saw the travelling cart was selling bait and bobber books. And better yet, as many as I could afford. That meant I could buy as many as it takes to get to level 10 fishing, and also a few more to get level 1 mastery too. After reaching level 10 fishing, I had reached level 10 in all of my skills, and meant I unlocked another achievement. Luckily it's a Steam one, Master of the 5 Ways, reaching level 10 in every skill. Inside the Mastery Cave, I chose the foraging one of course to get the recipe for the Mystic Tree Seed and Treasure Totem. We'll first need to grow Mystic Trees and tap them to get Mystic Syrup, and then we can use the Mystic Syrup to make Treasure Totems. Thankfully, I was very cautious with how many crafting recipes I could make, so I had enough to make both recipes when I needed to. On the 10th of summer, my first Mystic Tree had grown, and only 4 days later, the other 2 had fully grown as well. Once they had produced some Mystic Syrup, I could make up my first Treasure Totem and start getting the missing artifacts. And for our very first attempt, I managed to get one. On the 21st, I had even more Mystic Syrup and 2 more Treasure Totems to use, this time in the mountain, managing to get the fossil, And unfortunately nothing out of the second one. Nothing again. A few more tries later, I got the palm fossil, then the Nautilus fossil, skeletal hand, and eventually, after a whole season of trying, I managed to get the prehistoric skull, meaning we could officially complete the museum collection, ticking off another achievement in order. Of course, getting treasure trove out of order isn't ideal, but was completely unavoidable. Let's keep it going. Luckily, we would do a break, and the next one was very easy. A new friend achievement required we reach level 5 friendship with someone, and could be done on the very same day after handing George a leek for his birthday. The next one in order was the best friends achievement, requiring we reach 10 hearts with someone, and on the 10th of winter, we had reached 10 hearts with Caroline, completing it fairly easily. Although once again, we were about to run into a huge problem. The next achievement in line was the beloved farmer, requiring we reach 10 hearts with 8 people. The only issue is, the cliches achievement that comes after it unlocks after reaching 5 hearts with 4 people. And since there are no way to get 10 hearts with 8 people without getting 5 hearts with 4 people, that was going to be another achievement unlocked out of order. So, all across the next few weeks, all I was doing was handing out as many love gifts as possible, getting closer and closer to getting 10 hearts with 8 people. On Spring 7, Year 4, I gave Mayor Lewis a birthday gift to receive the cliches achievement, which was annoying, but we knew we couldn't avoid it anyway. By the 22nd of summer, Year 4, I could hand Evelyn another diamond to get her to 10 hearts and getting the beloved farmer achievement. It does catch us back up with the other achievement we just got out of order, and did mean we completed our very first row of achievements in order. Networking was our next one, requiring we reach 5 hearts with 10 people, which I was able to do the very same day. Popular was next, tasking us to reach 5 hearts with 20 people, and that one was going to take a lot longer. But by the 14th of fall, we had gotten it. The next one in order is blanked out at the moment, but is actually the cook achievement, which is unlocked after making 10 different cooking recipes. And with our cookout kit was another easy one to get. Sous Chef was next and required us to make 25 different recipes, which also wasn't that bad at all. It was the next achievement that was bound to cause us even more problems. Gourmet Chef makes us cook every single recipe in the game. And where do I start with the problems with this one? The first problem is the strange bun cooking recipe. Requires periwinkles and void mayonnaise. Periwinkles would normally be an issue for me since I could not catch any other types of fish, and yes, even getting it in a crab pot counts as a fish caught. But luckily, after 5 years of the travelling car, I had had a few already saved up. It was really the void mayonnaise that was the big issue. I must have forgotten to count a crafting recipe, as it turns out I was already on 14 out of 15 different crafting recipes, so I couldn't make myself a mayonnaise machine to turn a void egg from Krobus into void mayonnaise, and I genuinely thought after all this time I had softlocked myself, meaning I would have to cave in and get the DIY achievement early by making myself a mayonnaise machine. But then, after scrolling around the wiki, I might have found a way to get it. Since I had completed the community centre, I could now access the Witch's Swamp, and as it turns out, there is a 5% chance of catching a void mayonnaise if the Goblin Problem quest is active and the player does not have any void mayonnaise in their inventory. Yeah, I know. So, after speaking with the wizard, grabbing the Dark Talisman, I headed down there to try my luck at getting some. However, this was not going to be easy. For one, since I was only one different species of fish away from getting the Fisherman achievement, if I managed to catch some white algae, which for some reason counts as a fish, I would have to restart the day. Not just that, but because I was merely 2 fish away from the Mother Catch achievement, if I caught more than 1 green algae, I would get the Mother Catch achievement instead, and would also have to restart the day. Alright, enough complaining, let's do this. And after many attempts later, I managed to get myself one that I could take back home and make the strange bun. The rest of the recipes weren't that hard to make either, with the final one requiring us to get some cheese from our free cheese press to make some pepper poppers. That meant we had made every recipe apart from 5. 5 of those recipes I was completely missing. All of those recipes are locked behind Ginger Island, which wouldn't be a problem if travelling there didn't give us an achievement. But since it's the next one in order, we will have no other choice than to take the materials to repair the boat and head over there. In order for us to get the Gourmet Chef achievement, we are forced to get another one out of order, A Distant Shore. On the bright side, there aren't many achievements that are unlocked at Ginger Island, so we should be able to progress through it without much trouble. With the main goal of getting Leo to 7 hearts to get both of his cooking recipes, alongside the 3 other cooking recipes from here as well. We quickly unlocked the Island West, then the dig site, freed Professor Snail, and donated a few bones to his field office. On the island farm, I began planting some starfruit seeds, and before late prepared the island farmhouse. The very next day on Ginger Island, I'm into the volcano to find lots of goodies like dragon teeth, and also to make my way to the forge at the top. On floor 5, we can speak to the dwarf who sells the ginger ale cooking recipe, and also a crafting recipe we'll need later too. Back in Pelican Town, I begun the Pirate's Locket quest that starts by handing Kent the War Memento, Gourmet Tomato Salt to Gus, Stardew Valley Rose to Sandy, TV Remote to George, Arctic Shard to the Wizard, and then the Wriggling Worm to Willy, to finally wrap up the Locket quest. That gave me just enough golden walnuts to repair the island resort, which we'll be needing to get another cooking recipe. Whilst we waited for Gus to visit the island for the tropical curry recipe, I chose to fill the island farm with starfruit seeds. Even though we had already reached the 10 million gold achievement in earnings, we will still need way more than that in cash to buy the golden clock and the 4 obelisks too. For the sake of saving time, since we've been doing this for over 5 in-game years now, and haven't made it halfway through the achievements in order just yet, I chose to pay the parrot to find all of the remaining golden walnuts. So I suppose Jojo did get the final laugh in the end. With all of the golden walnuts found, I could repair the island trader and trade for some bone fragments to get the banana pudding cooking recipe and also enter Mr. Key's walnut room. Thankfully, it didn't take too long when I saw Gus arriving on the island, meaning we could get ourselves the tropical curry cooking recipe and also a gold star bottle of mango wine for the missing bundle too. That meant we only had 2 more cooking recipes left to find, and they both came from Leo. Since we'll be needing both mangoes and bananas for cooking, I planted the trees to start that process up, and purchased myself the key to the town from Mr. Key's shop to make accessing the town so much easier. Once all the starfruits had finished growing, it made for a very satisfying harvest using the iridium scythe I collected from the Mastery Cave. On the 1st of summer year 5, I received the poi recipe from Leo's 3 heart level, harvested even more starfruit, and finally reached 7 hearts with him on his birthday, allowing me the very next morning to receive the mango sticky rice recipe. And so we made up every recipe to get ourselves the Gourmet Chef achievement. That was annoying, and did force us to get another one out of order. Thankfully though, the next few won't be that difficult. Moving up is next, requiring we simply upgrade our house, and was exactly why we had to use the cookout kit for cooking, since if we upgraded our house for a kitchen, we would have gotten this one early. On the 2nd, our house upgrade was finished, getting us a very easy achievement, and the next one was living large, requiring simply another house upgrade. On the 6th it was finished, getting us one step closer to the end of the challenge. Not really. And what do you know it? The next one in line is DIY, the one that has been a thorn in our side throughout the entire challenge. And it turns out I did keep count correctly, as a single wooden fence was enough to get it. Artisan was up next, requiring we craft 30 items, a very easy one. The Craft Master was next, requiring we make every crafting recipe, which was more of a challenge in all honesty. Before then, I could now make as many recipes as I liked, so I made a mayonnaise machine to turn the void egg into void mayo to access the Witch's Swamp after all of this time. That was so I could get the Wizard's Magic Ink, and built myself the golden clock for 10 million gold. Now our attention was turned to getting all of the crafting recipes I was missing. It took me to the Desert Trader to trade 10 iridium bars for the Desert Warp Totem. Then I thought about getting access to the casino to get the Alien Rare Crow to eventually make the Deluxe Scarecrow. So I took a battery pack to the road tunnel, rainbow shell to the train station, beets to Mayalos's fridge, and before I did the final step, I swung round to Willie's to buy the fish smoker recipe, which will present me with its own problems. We'll get into that one later. I gave the sand dragon its last meal, and began to think of what other recipes I might be missing. I did remember that a lot of the recipes were locked behind Mr. Key's shop, so I knew I was going to have to tackle a bunch of key quests to get them all. I first bought the magic bait and deluxe fertilizer recipes, so I just mentioned how the fish smoker was going to cause me issues, and here's exactly why. The fish smoker requires one of each jelly to make. Luckily, we already have the river jelly from very early on, but I was one fish away from the mother catch achievement, and jellies count as a fish. I was also one fish away from the fisherman achievement, and again, they count as a different species of fish, so how on earth was I planning on making a fish smoker without getting one of those achievements? It turns out, the Jewels of the Sea book can be traded for either 3 of the jellies at any point, and luckily, after year 3, the bookseller has a chance to sell them. I've managed to grab 2 of them at the moment, with our first one allowing to be exchanged for 3 cave jellies, and when we get the sea jellies, it makes the fish smoker look hard on the surface, but quite easy when you actually think about it. After checking our log pile, I received the casino club card, told the bouncer to move it blockhead, and entered. Of course, we need to get our hands on the rare crow in here to make the deluxe scarecrow, so it was time to gamble. My luck was absolutely terrible, and so I eventually just caved in and bought 10,000 key coins manually and got myself the rare crow. I was quite confused the next morning when I didn't receive the deluxe scarecrow recipe in the mail, so I collected all of the rare crows I'd gotten to try and work out which one I was missing, and it turned out I was missing the witch one from the Spirit's Eve festival. In Mr. Key's walnut room, I picked up Skull Cavern Invasion and staircased my way all the way down and came across yet another problem. When we reached floor 100, I received the Gopher achievement and is given after completing 10 Help Wanted quests. But this wasn't a Help Wanted quest, it was a key quest. Annoyingly, after heading to the wiki, key quests and special orders apparently count towards the Gopher achievement, and this is actually another one completely impossible to avoid as well. The reason for that is you need to craft every item, and you need to complete 9 different Pelican Town special orders to get the 9 different crafting recipes. Not just that, to get all of the crafting recipes from Mr. Key's shop, you need to complete at least 5 key quests, meaning it's another achievement completely unavoidable. With those key gems I just got, I bought myself the hopper recipe and asked Robin to add a basement onto our house in order to get the cask crafting recipe too. Back on the island, I took some cinder shards to trade for the deluxe retaining soil recipe, and wrapping up the field office would also give me the ostrich incubator recipe too. Whilst I was here, I headed into the volcano to try and find myself an ostrich egg for shipping collection later on. After finding one, I could make up the incubator and get an ostrich of my very own. For another new recipe, I grabbed community cleanup from Linus, which tasked me to fish up 20 pieces of trash. Whenever the term fishing comes up in this challenge, it sends off alarm bells. But luckily, if we fish in the pond on the farm, there is nothing but trash in here, making it very easy to complete, getting the fiber seeds recipe the very next morning. One more key quest later, I was able to get the heavy tapper crafting recipe, and I did remember to check the bookseller every time to trade for the final jelly I needed, which was the sea jelly. Although this time he was only trading for the river ones. However, we are going to have to get another achievement out of order, and this time it's the one I've been trying to avoid this entire time, the mother catch. That's because to get the farm computer crafting recipe, we need to complete the biome balance special order from Demetrius. That special order requires us to catch 20 lake fish, and since we are only 1 fish away from the 100 fish caught requirement for mother catch, we will have no other option but to get it. Technically, however, if you wanted to try this challenge for yourself, this is possible to avoid, as long as you make sure to leave at least 21 fish to be caught before taking on this special order. Before I did that, I completed the missing bundle to repair the movie theatre, which as mentioned before, we'll need to access for an achievement later. So at the mountain lake, I began to catch the 20 lake fish, getting the mother catch achievement. On the bright side, we can avoid getting the fisherman achievement, as long as we only get ones we have caught before, like the largemouth bass and chub. After that disappointing day, we did get the crafting recipe for the farm computer the very next day. When Spirit's Eve arrived, I made sure to buy the final rare crow I was missing to get the deluxe scarecrow recipe and make it up the very next day. After yet another key quest, I bought the bluegrass starter and also grabbed the 2 final masteries for the recipes they give you, like the statue of the Dwarf King, heavy furnace, and challenge bait. Heading up to the mountains after 8 PM allowed me to watch a cutscene with Linus to get the wild bait recipe. The bookseller yet again wasn't trading me sea jellies, and one more key quest later gave me enough to get the final crafting recipe from Key's shop. I built myself the desert obelisk at the wizard's tower today, followed by enchanting my fishing rod with preserving for later. Yet again another useless bookseller, this time trading for cave jellies. Then I built the beach obelisk, followed nicely by the island ingredients special order on the 8th of spring year 6. This was yet another special order we needed to complete, as we'll get the solar panel recipe for completing it. Another stupid bookseller. Finally, however, on the 15th, I got the Fragments of the Past special order, which was the last special order I needed to finish, giving me the bone meal recipe that I made up, leaving not many crafting recipes left. Once my taro tubers had finished growing, I could ship them all off, completing the special order, getting the recipe for the solar panel, and after making it up, it left one final crafting recipe, the fish smoker. All I was waiting for was the bookseller to trade me some sea jelly, and eventually he did, allowing me to craft every single recipe and getting the Craft Master achievement. This also marked the complete second row of achievements, despite the ones we were unfortunately forced to get. The next few ones won't prove to be too difficult either, with the Fisherman achievement gotten simply with a sunfish in the river. Next up was Old Mariner for catching 25 different fish, yet again not a difficult one. With access to magic bait, getting all of the different fish was very easy, even the night market ones by fishing in this area. But not long later, we did get the Old Mariner achievement, and you wouldn't have guessed it, the Master Angler was next, which would require we get every single fish. It took a long time, but with preserving and magic bait, it wasn't too difficult. And wasn't it fitting for the last fish I needed to get to be the legend itself? And after that, we had officially caught up with the other ones we had unlocked early, meaning we were close to finishing another row. Next up was a big help for completing 40 help wanted quest, which is quite a lot and is going to take some time. I won't play through them all, but in the middle of doing them, I asked Emily to marry me, since well, she's the best marriage candidate in the game, and also gives me my iconic outfit. I did also start working on the raccoon quest too, for an achievement later, and built myself the mountain obelisk before getting married to Emily in front of the entire town. I wasn't just getting married for the outfit, although it's a nice bonus. I would need to be married for the Steam Star Drop achievement, and also the Steam Full House achievement for getting married and having 2 kids. At the bookseller, I bought all of the power books I could, as I'll need them for an achievement later. On the 10th of fall, year 6, Emily had given me the final Star Drop I needed for the Mystery of the Star Drop Steam achievement. It took a while, but with one more help wanted quest, it was enough to get the big help achievement and allowed us to move on. Polyculture was next, requiring we ship 15 of each crop. That isn't too bad at all. Any crop I didn't have 15 shipped off already, I planted them on the island farm and waited until they grew. After shipping them off, I was confused overnight when I didn't get the achievement, but after working through each crop, I found out I didn't ship enough beetroot, so after shipping a few more, I finally got it. Monoculture was next, and the same one I accidentally got all that time ago. Again, it was another easy one to finish. The full shipment achievement is next, and is usually very tough to do. But since we've been on the farm for nearly 7 whole years at this point, I had pretty much everything just sitting around in the chests. After sleeping, I did realise I missed the maple syrup, oak resin and truffle oil, so I grabbed them, shipped them off, and got the full shipment achievement. That once again completed another full row and actually caught up with the achievements I'd gotten out of order, leaving only 8 more. Although these last ones weren't going to be easy. But I don't expect nothing less from this challenge. The next one up was the Well Read achievement for reading every book, and the Well Read achievement only refers to the power books. So I read all the ones I'd saved up, and out of all of them I was missing 3. The Raccoon Journal, which I quickly grabbed, the Book of Mysteries from a mystery box, and then the Diamond Hunter from the Dwarf, officially getting the achievement. The next one up is blanked out, but is the 2 thumbs up achievement, which is gotten from seeing a movie. So I bought 2 tickets and asked the new 1.7 marriage candidate Clint to come watch a movie with me. Funnily enough, you get the achievement before even seeing the movie. So I decided to let Clint watch it alone. Blue Ribbon is next, requiring we get first place in the Stardew Valley Fair, and was the main reason we couldn't get first place earlier. So after sleeping for an entire year, I was back to the fair in the fall of year 7 to get myself first place with a wonderful looking Grange display. What was even more annoying is the next achievement was an unforgettable soup, meaning we would have to sleep for another whole year, but on my return home, Emily had a surprise for me. That's right, the magic set. That's much better. So sleeping all the way to summer year 8, I made sure to add a smoked tuna to the soup and delighted the governor to get the achievement. Good Neighbours was up next, requiring we help our forest neighbours grow their family, which means we will have to complete 9 different raccoon quests. And by the end of winter, we had done it, letting them celebrate with a great song and dance. The next achievement was blanked out, but it is Danger in the Deep, granted by reaching the bottom of the dangerous mines. And would you look at that, Danger in the Deep from Mr. Key, making it a very easy achievement to get. The penultimate one was Infinite Power, by obtaining the most powerful weapon, the Infinity Blade. So at Mr. Key's shop, I bought 3 Galaxy Souls and applied them to my Galaxy Sword at the Forge to get the Infinity Blade. And that meant we were down to one final in-game achievement, which is blanked out, but it is Perfection, which we get after reaching the summit. Even after all this time, we weren't going to Perfection waver our way out of it either. One of the Perfection tasks is for completing all of the Monster Slayer goals, and we actually needed to do this anyway, for the Protector of the Valley Steam achievement for completing all of the Monster Slayer goals. Let's get them done. And with one last magma spirit, they were done. Over at the Wizard's Tower, I constructed the island obelisk and checked the perfection tracker to see I was at 100%. In this long period of sleeping, I did also manage to get the Full House Steam achievement too, from getting married and having 2 kids. The next morning, I received a message that I felt in my heart, somewhere, somehow, Grandpa is beaming with pride, and the legacy of Achievements Farm is eternal. I saw a flock of parrots overhead and I ran straight up towards the summit to get the final in-game achievement, Perfection. I met up with Emily as we discussed these long 8 years in the valley and how far we have both come in that time. As we watched the credits roll, I could take a big sigh of relief knowing that the challenge was done. Wait, it's not done. What's left? I'm so sorry, Tom. The worst is still yet to come. And I was right. I still had 2 achievements left to get, and they weren't in-game ones. They are the 2 Steam achievements I had left, and were arguably the hardest ones in the entire game, no exaggeration. The Prairie King achievement is for beating Journey of the Prairie King, and worst of all, Vector's Challenge, for beating Journey of the Prairie King without dying. With little to no experience with this arcade game, I headed to the saloon to try it out. I'm not going to fully break down every strategy here, since I'm planning to make a complete guide on this achievement very soon. Now, if you've never played Journey of the Prairie King before, it's essentially Stardew Valley's own arcade game. You fight your way through waves of enemies across multiple levels, whilst collecting coins from defeated enemies, which can then be spent on upgrades between stages. Things like stronger ammo, increased rate of fire, and better movement speed all become basically required later on into the game. Throughout each level, there are also temporary power-ups that can help you out and get you out of tough spots. To begin, I first tried to do a few attempts just to get used to how the controls are, what the movement's like, and basically what to expect. with the main plan being to slowly work my way through each level, trying my very hardest not to die. One of the main things you want to aim for on each level is coins. You really want to be collecting a decent amount of coins per level to afford upgrades later. One of the best strategies to beat Journey of the Prairie King without dying is actually saving between levels. So once you finish level 1, you can back out of the game, head to bed and save the game. So if I then die on level 2, I can just reset the day and my progress of dying isn't lost. Level 2 wasn't too hard, the main issue was coins. I needed at least 15 coins by now to get the damage upgrade, but once I completed level 2, I could buy it from the shop, back out and save our progress. The next 2 levels were tough, but I did manage to pass through them without dying, skipping the store to save our coins. At this point we are introduced to the first boss of the game, which isn't too hard to beat. Onto the next world is where having the damage upgrade was needed, as this is where these mushroom enemies spawn and are super fast, and without the damage upgrade would normally take 2 hits to defeat. After saving up our coins, I could afford another damage upgrade, which was required for the upcoming imp enemies. At the second boss fight, once again I never found the bosses too difficult to beat, with the levels themselves being much more of a challenge. At the next shop, I bought the fire rate upgrade, since there is nothing else to spend my coins on before the end battle. And that took me to the final level before the boss. This level, oh man, this was a painful level, and took me over an hour of real time to complete without dying. And honestly, I believe isn't even possible without getting super lucky with the types of power-ups that spawn. And before the final boss, I bought yet another fire rate upgrade. Vector himself is not the hardest boss in the world, but his attacks are very unpredictable at times, and once more took many attempts to beat, until this happened. And with that, Journey of the Prairie King was finally complete without dying, meaning after all of that, the Prairie King achievement was ours, and the Vector's Challenge achievement was ours, and of course meant every Stardew Valley achievement had been completed in order. Well, mostly. So, can you complete every Stardew Valley achievement in order? No, but you can get very close. Going into this challenge, I genuinely thought only 1 or 2 achievements would have caused problems, but the further we got into it, the more I realised just how badly Stardew Valley's achievement order clashes with the natural progression of the game, with all of the gold related ones coming one after another, compared to the complete the entire museum collection coming before donating 40 items to the museum. Really makes no sense at all. Well, I suppose it does, because you aren't supposed to play the game this way. Things like fishing achievements, Ginger Island progression, museum rewards, and friendships all ended up overlapping with one another in ways that were almost impossible to avoid completely. In the end, out of all 48 achievements, only 5 ended up being collected out of order. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. Considering 4 of them were completely impossible due to the order that they are included, with the only one technically avoidable being the Mother Catch one, if you save enough fish for the biome balance special order needed for the farm computer crafting recipe. Apart from that, this challenge was actually very fun to do. It definitely took a very long time to complete and did drag on at times, but even after all of that, we somehow managed to get it done. And honestly, this has probably been one of the most interesting Stardew Valley challenges I've done so far. I mean, any way to beat the game in a way that wasn't intended is always fun for me to do. If you enjoyed, a like and subscribe would go a long way, but I'll catch you in the next one. Later.